celebrity and personality doing a job that some people do every day. Can they do it? Will they crumble under the pressure? Find out in the brand new season of Asambege.
Ichop, Asambege.
Win bigger, win better with Pixby Casino Online. Simply go to your browser and click www.pixbycasino.co.sz and tap into a world of infinite possibilities and winnings. T's and C's apply.
Big brands, big deals, small prices at Hi-Fi Corp. Don't regret it and buy it on credit when you get this Samsung 55-inch UHD TV and soundbar for 10,999, save 3,000. Or this Univa 7 kg front loader washing machine for 5,199, save 300. Or this Samsung Galaxy A23 smartphone for 4,299, save 200. Price is valid until 1 August. Hi-Fi Corp, your #1 deal destination.
Good evening, this is Eswatini TV News at 8. I am Natile Sitole alongside Zamanzi Manze. First up, let's have a look at our top stories.
The Deputy Prime Minister Themba Masuku says the Decentralization Bill of 2021 will be the second most important policy. The Minister of Finance, Nuwerkenbeek, says government is committed to creating a conducive environment for doing business in the country. The Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Polish Kantu, has officially validated a framework for interagency coordination in asset recovery for Eswatini.
The news. The Deputy Prime Minister Themba Masuku says the Decentralization Bill of 2021, once passed into an act, will be the second most important policy following the country's constitution as it addresses the issue of service delivery in the country. The Deputy Prime Minister has been speaking during a consultation meeting with the House of Assembly on the Decentralization Bill.
The Ministry of Tingundla Administration and Development is hosting a 3-day consultation meeting with the House of Assembly on the Decentralization Bill of 2021. The minister says one of the objects of the Decentralization Bill is to provide for financial sustainability of Tingundla authorities. Speaking during the meeting, the Deputy Prime Minister Themba Masuku said the bill, once passed into an act, it will be the second most important act in the Kingdom of Eswatini after the country's constitution, as it will improve government service delivery.
The passing of this bill into law shall be a historic milestone that we will all be proud of. The leadership of this country has long been waiting for this piece of legislation as it defines the purpose for our Tingundla political system. In fact, this piece of legislation is the second highest after the constitution of this country. This legislation was first initiated during the 8th Parliament without success.
Minister of Tingundla, David Ngampalala, says the new bill will ensure sustainable development of Tingundla.
Lamasevisi onke silwela ukuthi akefike asondele kubantu. Uma ke sithi akasondele kubantu sisho ukuthi akabe nemithetho. Kungabe kucabanga nje kwamunye ethi ngiyafisa namuhla ukuthi ngiyokwenda lokho eshiselweni, ngiyafisa namuhla kumixa lokho enkundleni kube nemithetho lokunguyo lotawuthi lama-service afika kubani kubantu mangabe khona la ngikawafikisi kubukuswana ekuthiwa kwawafikisi ingani phela lama-service ngoba sesinawo umthetho lothi bani akwendeke naku ngalesikhathi lesi lekubantu.
Speaker of the House of Assembly Petros Mavimbela said the House has a duty to help develop the country with such policies.
We are all concerned about services not reaching every citizen and overlapping responsibilities and functions within our structures. And this bill should be seen as the one vehicle to improve service delivery. But if we do not come up with an integrated approach, our efforts will not achieve the desired output.
The Ministry of Tingundla is also expected to have consultation meetings with community leaders on the Decentralization Bill of 2021. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Samkelsiwe Koza, Matapa.
The Deputy Prime Minister's Office has joined forces with Nature in the launch of the Fight Against Gender-Based Violence and HIV campaign. The campaign is aimed at ending gender-based violence and AIDS by advancing equality.
Gender-based violence remains a huge challenge in Eswatini. This year on February alone, 7 women died at the hands of men. 4 of the 7 women were from the Shiselweni region. The National Director at Nature, Kanya Mabuza, says Eswatini continues to experience more brutality cases against women by their lovers, and while the Sexual Offences and Domestic Violence Act of 2018 is meant to deal with the scourge, the situation hasn't improved to acceptable levels.
In the HIV, I have your fan. HIV, bangatemetning. Now, buga la mapotes now. Ukanza gutsi kuneng lokuthi makase kachene, nase kachene. Sewuthale enhloniphana ekhaya nakungahloniphana sekunenlokwendekako lokufaka ekhasi lokushayana lokunye ukhanze kusekhona kungathembeki kula ma-families noma kula ma-couples noma labahlala ndawonye sineke signature siyadibuya into bange-HIV na ungabuka nje lokubanga kakhulu HIV indzaba yemntfwana nemlomzala nakhona lapho ukhanze ukuthi lo mntfwana uya-abuseka ngendlela ethile ngoba lona uthatha ukuthi akanamali so uyabona ukuthi uze ukuthi uthwele mali nayo imali langinika nawe nginike nawe nase kuphele mali ke ngoba lo la sangasafuni la kufunaka lo munye ikakhulu wesilisa sekuyaliwa sekuyashaywana.
Lomakhosi Dlamini, who is the Undersecretary in the Deputy Prime Minister's Office, says gender-based violence affects men, women, children and key populations. She says it is a grave abuse of human rights, a risk factor for HIV infection, and a consequence of stigma and discrimination against people living with HIV.
Vele ku mandate yethu ukukhulumisa nekusekela necoordinator lama issues gender based violence kulesikhuthatako esiven semaswati ukuthi kungasekelwa kuphela ukuthi ngoba umntwana nakho sotawubamba wende kube neti ibidendlu kepha nje nasikubona ukuthi kubi vele asikugweme ngoba kude umntali liqiniso lonke liphelele longathanza ukuthi umntwana wakhe ahlukumezeke.
In 2021, Eswatini recorded a total of 14,039 gender-based violence cases between January to December, of which 9,548 cases were suffered by women and 3,029 were suffered by children. Sifiso Ngumalo with Vusim Pamali for Eswatini TV News in Hlangano.
The Minister of Finance, Nuwerkenberg, says government is committed to creating a conducive environment for doing business in the country, including moving goods. The minister was speaking during the tax indaba that was organized by Business Eswatini. The event was held at the Happy Valley Hotel in Eswatini.
Different stakeholders gathered at the Royal Villas in Eswatini in an event conducted by Business Eswatini named the Tax Indaba, where stakeholders were gathered to look into tax issues amongst others. The Eswatini Revenue Service, amongst other things, introduced the tax relief for businesses. Speaking during the event, the Minister for Finance, Nuwerkenberg, says the Indaba comes at a time in the country's economy where we are to come out stronger from the challenges we recently faced, including that of COVID-19, amongst others. He says the Indaba will help government to structure fiscal and economic challenges.
Over the last few years, there's obviously been a lot of pressure for increased revenue within our economy. And I really believe that that over the last short term, one can speak for anyway. One has tried our best to focus because of the trying times. I mean, as a country, as economies, we've really had some major blows over the last few years, especially Eswatini. If you add what we've experienced as a country and unique to the global economy on top of that. So we've really tried our best to not increase taxes and to not just come with new measures, as the countries normally do. Normally, when there's pressure to be able to have to spend on more, cover more things, one really looks towards increasing taxes. And as a country, we realize it just wouldn't be good, it wouldn't be healthy under the current environment to look at increasing taxes. For that reason,
The Business Eswatini President Andrew Leroux says they hope that lots and lots will be shared by stakeholders.
We are not the enemy, he is not the enemy. We are here to work together with a service provided by ERS to see how can we pay our fair share. This is not about punishing people for mistakes or anything like that. How do we work together? And at the same time, there's the transformation of ERS from ERA, from an agency to a service. There's the introduction of the Revenue Appeal Tribunal of Eswatini, and then there's also the introduction of the tax amnesty.
The country is working on facilitating amendments that will improve the tax legislation environment and make laws responsive to harsh realities. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Kian Msibi at the Royal Villas Ezulwini.
The Minister of Public Works and Transport, Chief Ndlalhlaza Ndwandwe, has officially commissioned the construction of the 29.7 million Emalangeni Mojane to Esigangeni Road. Minister Ndlalhlaza says construction is expected to start on the 8th of August 2022.
The Mojane-Esigangeni Road will be 6.5 kilometers. The Minister of Public Works and Transport, Chief Ndlalhlaza Ndwandwe, says the construction of the road is expected to be completed by March next year. The minister says Roots Construction is expected to do an impressive job. He urges residents to also take good care of the construction company, and there should be cooperation between the company and community members.
La kuphelela khona 6.5 kilometers ngilala sitawube siphelela khona kwanyalo. Sitawuphinde sibuyele ke silungise lokho lesitawuphinde sikuthole. Siphinde futhi sifake sichubeke siye embili. Bekunene silapha nje silitiko sithunywe nguhulumende weNgwenyama sitoti bika kuloko. Bese lo mthwalo ke bekunene ukuthi bete lo msebenzi bawusebente ngekwethembeka ngekutithoba nangekuhlonipha lo mango lesitobethula kuwo. Ngoba nabalapha nje sebasephasale ngikhundla basephasale imiphakathi. Nakunjalo nje nekuphila kwabo sesikushiya etandleni talo mango ngoba kulamalanga ukhanza ngathi sesibantu sekukhona nekuphila bunyamatana lo mnyathi aphila lo mnyahawukele kumkhinya beta sithi ke nasibashiya la sesibashiya etandleni tenu nine bekunene nonke ukuthi basebenze lo msebenzi ngaphandle kokuphathamiseka baze bawuqethe bawethule bahambe babuyele emuva. Nabo ke siyabaphathisa ukuthi nabala abatiphathise kwetakhamiti tala bahloniphe babe nendlebe beve lokukhalisa sive ngalokusebenta kwabo.
Mojane Member of Parliament Robert Magong and Ekupheleni Chief Prince Dlovula appreciates government for the construction of the road. The Prince hopes that the area will now be able to attract investors.
Siyabongela Chief ngosebengoni sishaya mabhodlela sathi kanganani. Kulenza balomgwaqo sitawukela ukuthi nako sokonda kusithatha liswazi. Ungene uyakalo ndunduma esikoleni, ungene emphakathini. Seso maloku great obe muhle.
Alokuthi sesitawukhona nekusoma bosomabhizinisi batosendela lokuhle nathi ngalana ngoba umgwaqo utaba sakhona. Kanti nyalo bobathi uyasoma bosomabhizinisi babathe bayabuka lendlela noma uhamba ngale lenkulu imoto iyalimala noma uhamba ngale lencane iyalimala kepha nyalo cishe sekutaba ngconywana.
Roots Construction has been awarded the tender to construct the Mojane to Esigangeni Road. Other companies that tendered for the job are Inyatsi and Stephen Stokes that wanted to construct the road at 27.3 million emalangeni and 22.3 million emalangeni respectively. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, with Vuminkosi Nzinisa ekupheleni.
The Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Palesha Kantu, has officially validated a framework for interagency coordination in asset recovery for Eswatini. The minister says the framework will see stakeholders that deal with organized crime and terrorism being able to share information and assist each other when dealing with these crimes.
This is a project initiated by the Asset Recovery Interagency Network for Southern Africa under the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. The Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Palesha Kantu, says the framework for interagency coordination in asset recovery for Eswatini will improve the effectiveness and efficiency in the asset recovery process, targeting money laundering and terrorist financing risk in priority areas.
This framework that you will be validating and adopting today will provide you with that mechanism of how these agencies, you are going to share information amongst yourselves, and also the policy and the framework within which you are going to share that information. At this juncture, may I take this opportunity to express His Majesty's government's appreciation to ARINSA for the continued technical and financial support that you have given the Kingdom of Eswatini, and your presence here. You were here when we started this work, and we really appreciate that you have taken the time, traveling from afar to come and make sure that you hold our hand to ensure that the framework is developed for the Kingdom of Eswatini.
Asset Recovery Interagency Network for Southern Africa under the United Nations on Drugs and Crime representative Lindy Muzila says the network has 17 members.
Through this network, Eswatini as well as other countries enhance their international cooperation as well as the capacity. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime organizes training events through our donor support, such as the German government, the United States government, and the British government, to provide capacity building to member countries in order to strengthen their investigations, the prosecution, and other mechanisms in order to combat illicit financial flows and other challenges in the region.
Some of the benefits of the framework include enhancing efficiency in financial investigations and asset forfeiture, building public trust, secure information, pooling resources, and expertise, among other things. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, Mbabane.
Climate change has had a negative impact on livelihoods as it has brought about diseases, lack of water, lack of food, amongst other things. Thus, the need for government ministries to collaborate on climate change issues. The Ministry of Tourism and Environmental Affairs met with the Ministry of Health to discuss how ministries can best work with each other on effects brought about by climate change.
The impacts of climate change can be felt from all aspects of life, as it can bring an outbreak of diseases, shortage of water, lack of clean water, extreme weather conditions, to mention amongst a few. The Ministry of Tourism and Environmental Affairs has seen the need to engage with ministries on how to deal with the effects and impacts of climate change. The Ministry of Tourism and Environmental Affairs held a meeting with the Ministry of Health to discuss how ministries can partner on climate change issues. Ketsiwe Kumaru, the Climate Change Program Coordinator in the Meteorology Department, expands more.
Climate change is coming with a lot of extreme weather events. So for instances where we have storms that heavy rainfalls that actually destroy health infrastructure, but also critical infrastructure like rivers, bridges, roads, and you find that health services are no longer accessible to people, and that is a very major challenge. And also we have direct impacts whereby you have storms that actually and lightning that kills people, and heat waves that actually directly impact on human health. Most people, they are actually experiencing an increase in asthma or respiratory diseases because of high temperatures. And so what we are looking at now is how we can work together with the Ministry of Health to integrate climate change into their programs. So what is important right now is for them to be able to map up the risk, because it is important to understand what are your risks that you are facing in that different sector, and then come up with programs that are going to help you respond to the risks.
She says it also has effects on different age groups, from both the young and the old, including people with disabilities who suffer the effects the most. Reporting, I am Kian Msibi at the Hilton Garden Inn in Mbabane.
And now we'll have a look at our financial markets.
Standard Bank. It can be.
Moving on, we'll have a look at our sports news. Eswatini Golf Union President Albert Mhlanga says the FNB Eswatini Ngonyeni Challenge has brought a wider picture to the entire world that indeed Eswatini golf is amongst the developed ones. Mhlanga says with different international professional golfers taking part of the challenge, it will show positives of Eswatini golf industry. Mhlanga was speaking during the challenge that entered the second day on Wednesday.
The first edition of FNB Eswatini Ngonyeni Challenge entered its second day on Wednesday, with once again professional golfers lining up against amateurs. Eswatini Golf Union President Albert Mhlanga says the tournament has put the Kingdom of Eswatini on the map and proved to the world that indeed golf is on the rise in the country.
Sitowitnessa njena umdlalo walama professionals nama amateurs and ke sethemba lokuthi kutawo encourage most of labadlali abadlalako ukuthi baqhubekele phambili.
Born and raised in the Kingdom of Eswatini are James Pennington and MJ Dlamini, who are now playing the sport at a professional level in the Republic of South Africa. The two believe tournaments of this magnitude will, with no doubt, offer chances to many local golfers who are still amateurs to finally turn professional.
I think by having players come from all over the world that are here this week, our local pros that play with them might learn something, the committees might learn something, and this can only benefit both the Sunshine Tour and our local PGA, but also just golf in the kingdom in general.
Well, I mean, it doesn't go for us as well, it goes for the guys coming after us as well. So we try to set an example for them so they can have, better opportunities, and stuff like that. So this is really good for the country, for tourism, and just, it's the first event ever hosted here, I believe, so a Sunshine Tour event. So I really think that's big for Nkonyeni itself, because this is a hidden gem, you would say. So I'm really excited for what's going to happen for not just the country, but for the kids coming up and for the golf in general.
The ongoing challenge is expected to finish on Saturday, the 30th of this month. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Mbabane.
Eswatini Football Association President Peter Smelane says in the next 2 years, the association will be prioritizing women football in the country to ensure that women national team Sithebe Samhlekazi competes at the highest stage. Smelane was speaking during the Women Football League award ceremony at Sikwaqa House in Mbabane.
Eswatini Women Football hosted the award ceremony for the 2021-2022 league season. The guest speaker of the event was President of the National Football Association, Peter Simelane, who says the association will be prioritizing women football in the next years to ensure that Sithebe Samhlekazi begin to compete at the highest level.
With the combination with all those resources, sitakwenda kahle. So far, yes, besaconcentrate kakhulu ngalabo sihlanu, and niyasibona nani ukuthi senza njani. So the women in the next year or two, sifuna ukuthi vele nayo ibonakale seyodlala kulama competition lamakhulu.
Boingosi Mhlanga, the chairman of Women Football, says the association is still looking to get a sponsor for next year's season, which will create a competitive league.
Siphinze futhi sibe nayo ne-knockout next season, so sisasebenzela lokho kulaba lesisaba engage.
Young Buffaloes were crowned champions and walked away with the 20,000 emalangeni. Runners-up Royal Leopard received 15,000 emalangeni, while third in place Elangeni Football Club received 12,500 emalangeni. Cediwe Ngambule of Young Buffaloes was the season's top scorer with 79 goals.
It was all about the teamwork and the training. It was with higher intensity that gave us everything to just flow.
Young Buffaloes has already begun preparations for their CAF Champions League regional qualifiers that kick off next month in the Republic of South Africa. For Eswatini TV Sports, Hobisumsonera, Mbabane.
That's all for now. Before we go, let's have a relook at our top stories. The Deputy Prime Minister Themba Masuku says the Decentralization Bill of 2021 will be the second most important policy. The Minister of Finance, Nurwerkenbeek, says government is committed to creating a conducive environment for doing business in the country. The Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Polilisha Kantu, has officially validated a framework for interagency coordination in asset recovery for Eswatini. And with that, we sum up our bulletin for the evening. Up next is the weather update. From myself and the team, thank you for your company. Take care.